Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, March 10th, 2022. I'm here in Vancouver at the Metal Investors Forum, which I'm, of course, founder of. I'm here with the CEO of one of the companies that presented in my speaking block. Of course, they presented because I follow them in the newsletter and own them. Martin Turenne is the CEO of FPX Nickel. This is a deal that's been around for a while. The newsletter briefly, well, not that briefly, followed it a long time ago. My late brother Dave was a big fan of the chairman. He was a big fan of this project. And this is indeed, this project is, Baptiste project has really come along in the last 10 or so years. I mean, they've figured out the processing, they've figured out the metallurgy, figured out the economics, and this is turning into a really, really good looking project with fantastic economics. And it's kind of it's a project for the times. I mean, that's the way I introduced it to subscribers a couple of months ago is this time period, everything that's going on, green revolution, the carbon footprint, I mean, everything really. And I'm going to get Martin to speak to that a little bit. I mean, we'll start out by, if people aren't familiar with the project, it's an unusual nickel project in the sense that the mineral that is the economic mineral in this deposit it's quite different from every other one, really.
That's right. So most nickel deposits are either sulfides or laterites. In Canada, we know the sulfide's best in Sudbury. The nickel here is hosted in a nickel iron alloy mineral called awaruite. So that mineral is comprised of 75% nickel, 25% iron. Sulfide minerals are typically 1/3 nickel, 1/3 sulfur, 1/3 iron. So when you produce a nickel concentrate from sulfides, you typically get about a 10 to 15% nickel concentrate.
Right.
Because of the high tenor of nickel in this mineral, we can produce concentrates that grade 60 to 65% nickel.
Crazy.
That means, when you're transporting it to an end market, there's much lower transport costs. And it also has a much cleaner association in terms of the host rock environment. So this is a product that we can produce that can bypass smelting altogether and go either directly into the battery market or into the stainless market. So we've spent a lot of years, I think, explaining awaruite to the market. We continue to explain it,
right.
But we've gone from playing defense on it to actually playing offense and really highlighting the advantages that it has and see this as a really sort of innovative and disruptive new form of nickel supply for the market.
Well, and one thing that's important to get across too is that this is a big project. I mean, they already have a large resource. They put out some drill holes a couple of months back from a new target that looks bigger than the current resource area that they're going to be drilling this year. But can you just give us a sense of scale? Like how big is Baptiste in terms of being a nickel resource, and kind of how does that? Can you give people some context on what that means compared to other ones?
Yeah, so our flagship deposit is Baptiste, and that contains over 7 billion pounds of nickel. Most of that in the indicated categories. It's already a high confidence resource from a mineral resource estimation standpoint. To put that in context, it's one of the 5 largest undeveloped nickel deposits in the world.
Right.
6 kilometers north of Baptiste within the same land package, we made a discovery through the drill bit at what we call the Van target last year. And Van, based on that drilling and based on surface outcrop, looks like it could host a deposit that is potentially as large or larger and potentially higher grade than Baptiste. So, if you combine those two resources, you'd be looking at a mineral endowment that would make this sort of easily Sudbury scale. And so we think, this could be an engine of sort of BC becoming known as sort of a nickel engine of the world.
And the other thing that's sort of come up recently, I mean, one of the things that impressed me so much when I kind of came back and revisited the company, went through everything with you, is you guys have done such a good job at sort of simplifying the flow sheet. I think for context, one number that everybody should hang on to is the cash costs in your PEA. I mean, I was surprised at how low it was.
Yeah, so this is a large tonnage, bulk tonnage open pit project, relatively moderate head grades in terms of the nickel head grade, but the PEA estimated operating costs would be about $2.75 US per pound of nickel. That would be in the bottom quartile of the cost curve. And that really is owing to a few factors. One is the low strip ratio. Strip ratio is below 0.4 to 1 over the life of mine, so very little waste rock. And the other huge advantage is the metallurgical simplicity here. Nickel is known, kind of a nickname for nickel since its discovery, is the devil's copper. And the reason for that is it is devilishly difficult to get out of host rock when it comes either in a sulfide setting or in a laterite setting. This mineral, the awaruite mineral, is very magnetic, which makes it very easy to separate from the host rock using magnetic separation.
Right.
So, flow sheets typically for sulfide and laterite operations, when you study them, are incredibly complex.
Yeah.
They typically yield very low recoveries. We get very high recoveries from a very simple flow sheet. And we're midway through a pre-feas metallurgical test work that is really just confirming those PEA parameters. So, we hold ourselves to a pretty high technical standard when it comes to de-risking that metallurgy.
Right.
And as we have news releases on that in the months to come, we expect to continue to demonstrate that to the market.
Yeah, I can't say it enough. That cash operating cost is very low. And what they're envisaging is not as much. It's like a couple hundred million pounds a year, I think.
It's 100 million pounds of nickel per annum. So, the base case 2020 PEA, that was generating EBITDA of around $400 million US per year. So
Right.
It is truly a major company scale asset in terms of the free cash flow it can generate.
Now, one of the most interesting things about this project, one of the other very interesting things is because of the unique mineralogy, and it's a whole different thing that we don't have time for, but it looks like it will have an extremely, extremely small carbon footprint compared to anything else out there, just about any other mine, certainly any other nickel mine. But that combination plus the location BC, anybody that's invested in base metal developers, as long as I have, it's not uncommon to see this situation where a company finds, say, a nice copper porphyry that's, it's good, but it's kind of middle of the road, looks like 50 other ones, market kind of gets bored of it, market cap drops, and they do a PEA and the numbers are good, and it's like, yeah, wow, this has got $1 billion NPV, $30 million market cap. How the hell do we get from A to B? Your project, because of some of the unique characteristics, I think you may have a way out of that trap, if you will, because you're developing a very different audience than the traditional sort of run-of-the-mill base metal developer.
That's right. One of the difficulties, I think, of being a base metal project explorer developer typically has been that you're with a large project is that you're typically beholden to the major mining companies.
Yeah.
And if they're not in a mood to want to acquire projects, then you've got to go it alone. You've got to raise that money through sort of, some of the quote unquote boring parts of project development, permitting, environmental assessment, feasibility studies, et cetera. The fascinating thing about being a nickel company at this point in time is that while we have real interest from major mining companies currently, we have just as much interest from a whole new set of counterparties. And those are the automakers and the battery makers that are looking to build out their supply chain security in North America in the years to come. I don't have to tell you, between the sort of the government push and the push by the automakers themselves, how many EVs they want to have on the roads in North America in the years to come, and the staggering sort of nickel requirements that go along with that. And so because nickel is such a fundamental component of these EV batteries, these car makers have an essential sort of existential requirement to secure nickel units. And so I am convinced, based on our interaction with those groups over the last year or two, that they will eventually be making upstream investments in assets like ours in order to secure that nickel supply. So it opens up a whole new sort of strategic landscape for us, gives us a lot more optionality for who we would eventually deal this project to.
Yeah, because I think it's, without obviously naming any names or anything, it's early days, but you are in fact in conversation with several large manufacturers.
That's correct. The largest automakers in the world, we have good relationships, have been developed over the last year or so with them.
Okay, so if you're somebody that's interested in this company, I strongly recommend you look at it. Really, it's a great project. The economics will shock you if you just need to forget about looking at the initial grade at first and understand this is a different type of deposit. The economics are great, logistics are great, and you have this secret sauce, which is, and I think it's potentially very important, where you're dealing with a deposit that appeals to a whole different set of potential investors and customers. And when you think about all of the absurd and ridiculous vaporware companies in the tech space that have gazillion-dollar market caps, not to put too fine a point on it, all we need is a couple of those tech pros to go, oh, green nickel, I'm in. The rest will be history, trust me. FPX Nickel, FPX on the venture. Thanks for coming along today, Martin. Thanks for presenting. Great job.
Thanks for having us, Eric.
We'll see
Appreciate
you
it.
again soon.